All right, it is 2 o'clock. Let's go ahead and get started. I am so excited that you all are here, and I am so excited for you all to hear from today's speaker. It's going to be great. Just a couple little housekeeping things. I promise it won't take long. We are recording this webinar. If you have to leave at some point today, or if you want to share this presentation with someone, or if you just want to rewatch it yourself, you will absolutely have that opportunity. Tomorrow morning, I will send you an email. It'll include a link to the recording, a link to the slides, and links to any resources that Boris mentions in his presentation today. You all have found the chat box, which makes me so happy. It is the best when my webinar participants like to talk to us. And I just wanted to let you know that if you have questions, try to drop those in the Q&A box instead of the chat box. We'll be keeping an eye on the chat, but chat does move pretty quickly sometimes, and I want to make sure that we answer all of your questions. So drop it in the Q&A box. And then lastly, we are live tweeting the highlights of this session. If you are a Twitter user, check the QGive webinar hashtag or just follow along over at QGive. And that's a really nice way to kind of look back at some of the high points of any of our presentations. All of that being said, if you are not familiar with me or with QGive, my name is Abby. I'm part of the QGive team. We're an online fundraising platform that get really excited about helping nonprofits like you do more good by helping you raise more money. And we know that having a great homepage on your website is a really important part of your fundraising. So I am absolutely thrilled that Boris Kievsky is here to teach us how to make the most of your homepage. So Boris, that's enough out of me. Do you want to get started?
Sure, let's do that. I'm going to share my screen. Here we go. Hi, everybody. I hope everybody can hear me now that I know you could hear Abby. Could you guys give me a little yes, we're good in the chat so that I know I'm not talking to myself because, well, frankly, I could have stayed home for that. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. I'm so glad you could hear me. Thank you, Abby, for this opportunity to come in front of the QGive audience. I'm really excited to share with you guys my nonprofit homepage to HeroPage presentation here. It's actually, I developed this content as a course that I share with folks on my website. If at any point any of you guys want to go through it, there's an easy way for you to do that. It's completely free. Today, I'm going to be going through as much of it as possible. So a couple of caveats to you folks at home. First, as you could tell by the background behind me, even though I'm not physically in New York at the moment, I am a New Yorker at heart, so I do tend to talk fast. I apologize. The good news is you're going to get a lot of stuff out of me in this time that we have together, and you're going to get the recording from Abby and from QGive so that you could go back and watch it again. I will also share with you some resources, as Abby mentioned, and you will be able to get those from my site. I'll share the link to that at the end, and I think Abby will also share it with you guys later on. So let's get into it, and let's start with what do we want to do today? And so what is our plan for the next 45 minutes? My hope is to share with you an effective, powerful blueprint for telling stories on your website homepage, transforming it into a hero page. And of course, I'm going to explain what that is. And then we want to demystify the whole concept of storytelling. I feel like every time people talk about storytelling, they mean something a little bit different, or they're not quite sure what it is. It's this amorphous, ambiguous kind of concept out there, and you can't really act on a concept. You need to act on concrete frameworks or structures or instructions, right? So my aim is to get you a lot closer to that, and actually to get you all the way there if I can do it today. And specifically, we're going to look at it through the Hollywood formula lens, and I'll talk to you about why Hollywood specifically later on. And then we're going to talk about what elements are important to have on your homepage. And honestly, this could be applied to every important page on your website. The donate page is slightly different. I have a little bit of a different rubric for that, but actually the same kind of storytelling for the most part applies. And then, of course, I want to leave enough time for your questions and my answers, or maybe even some crowdsourced answers from the group. So if that sounds okay with you, I say we dive on in. And I'm going to start with telling you not a full story. This isn't actually my story, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about me so you know who the heck is presenting. Maybe you read it already on my bio on the website, but there are a lot of hats that I wear. I like to tell people that's really why I'm bald. It's not. But let's go with that anyway. So these are some of the different categories, some of the different ways that I have served nonprofits over the last over 10 years now. And even before that, I've been doing this not just for nonprofits ever since there were websites, I've been doing this kind of work. My two most important titles, well, my most recent title, I should say, is I'm now an NYU adjunct faculty member. I now teach developing high impact websites for nonprofits. The course just started last week. So far, it's going fantastic. I will be teaching it again. If any of you are ever interested, you get NYU credit and CREs, right? CEUs, those are the ones as well. But today, I'm going to talk to you in part, at least, as a recovering actor and filmmaker. I have my undergraduate degrees in theater and my postgrad in theater. And then I went out to Los Angeles and I spent 10 years in the Hollywood system in one way or another, learning about storytelling and learning about how stories affect change in the world. So let's take a look at why. Why tell stories? And I'm assuming that many of you are already interested in and believe in the power of stories. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be here. But I'm going to share with you a couple of quotes that I really love. And the first is that storytelling is our specialty. It's the basis for everything we do as a species. This is part of a book, I really recommend the book. It's a great book by Yuval Noah Harari called Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind. And what he basically says in there is that storytelling is baked into our DNA. We would not have survived compared to all of the other stronger, scarier animals out there, or even smaller and deadlier animals out there. We wouldn't have survived if we couldn't tell stories and relate to each other because of the stories. We would not have been able to form our own little communities and society, and ultimately we would have perished. So storytelling is absolutely critical to who we are and how our brains work. The second quote I like to share is, "No one ever made a decision because of a number. They need a story." And that's from Danny Kahneman. Danny won the Nobel Prize in Economics for his work with Amos Tversky on behavioral economics. And what they really, more than anything, shared with the world, uncovered for the world, is that we're not perfect rational beings. We make decisions based on emotions, beliefs, and expectations. In other words, stories that we tell ourselves about our world. And I'll get into more of that as we go along. So let's start with looking at what is the problem with your homepage, right? If you're here today, then chances are you think that your homepage could be better. And now let's take a look at why. Why is that? So what's wrong with your org's homepage? If you guys want to drop in the chat, every good story starts with a problem. At the risk of foreshadowing, which is another storytelling technique, because we're going to get into that in a little bit, I'd really like to talk about this, and I want to hear what you guys think is the biggest issue, because maybe I could address that as well in the conversation today if I am not already including it in this presentation. Ilana says too much information. Tanya says too much going on, too long, too much information. I'm seeing a pattern, not funneled. Great. Not captivating enough. Yeah, we tried to simplify it to drive traffic to our other pages, but not sure it's working. Yeah, so there are definitely challenges to knowing whether or not it's working. No clear explanation of need. Yeah, that's a really good one. I appreciate that. Our mission mandate is not clear. Okay, great. These are all common issues. So the good news is all of you here are in the right place. Tries to do too much. Absolutely. That's, I think, perhaps the biggest challenge for most organizations, not in terms of just storytelling, but in terms of a lot of us in our organizations, and I do work in-house and as a consultant in nonprofits, try to do too much because we're doing too much. We're doing a lot, I should say, maybe not too much. And we want to get it all in there all at one time. Not a place at first glance to donate, give. Okay, yeah, I will absolutely agree with that. So let's take a look at some of the things that I outlined as to what's wrong with your homepage. And I think you guys are going to resonate with this. First of all, oftentimes it serves as the cover to your brochure. And I think this comes from older times when we actually had printed brochures and we need to have a sign that says, this is what we're about, or a page, this is what we're about. And it's not really what people expect today on the internet. It's trying to be all things to all people, like a diner menu. And I think several of you spoke to this. Yeah, if you've ever gone into a diner or like a Denny's menu, maybe Denny's, maybe not as much, but you go into one of these restaurants where they have pages and pages and pages of food and descriptions or not description, sometimes pictures, sometimes not. I can't stand those menus because by the time I get to the end, I forgot what was at the beginning. I'm hungrier, I'm more frustrated, right? I'm overwhelmed, and that's a big problem. oftentimes it's built by insiders who know too much. I have conversations with nonprofits many times a week, and I look at their homepages, and I can't figure out what it is that they do, what it is that they're talking about, and instantly what happens is we start feeling disconnected from the work that the organization is doing. We start feeling like, you know what? They're not talking to me because I don't speak that language. I don't know what that means. But as someone on the inside, well, we've been in it for so long that we have a shorthand perhaps of talking about it, or we make assumptions about what is already understood because we've been inside it for so long, right? So that's inside speak. Or you're not sure if it's working or missing opportunities. That's another very common one. And you guys mentioned that a few different times, a few different ways before. And part of the issue might be that different departments, and you guys were talking about this too, are pulling you in different directions, right? There's development, there's programs, there's your board. Even if you're a one-person organization, they might be asking for a stronger presence or even in disagreement about what to prioritize. And without a clear framework and explanation of why we should do it this way, it's really hard to argue. And I know that sometimes direction by committee can lead to all kinds of issues. So then what is a hero page? If that's a homepage and what's wrong with it, what's a hero page? Well, in my definition, and I did make it up, so I get to define it any way I want, a hero page is an interactive story-based page. It's one that converts visitors into heroes for your cause, not by magic spells, but incrementally and systematically with storytelling. It uses proven storytelling structure to engage visitors and activate heroes. It reduces confusion, eliminates that overwhelm, so that your potential heroes, your visitors, can focus on what it is that you do, more importantly, what it is that they could get from what you do, and how to take action. Of course, every story, everything that you do online or offline needs to be measured to see if it's working. So every story must have a goal, otherwise it's literally pointless. Goals do have to be measurable. And the goal of your story ultimately is to help people become heroes in their own lives. Now, this is a conversation I have very often with organizations, and sometimes it's hard to wrap their thinking around, because we tend to think as folks in an organization that we make a difference in the world. Well, who is that we? What is it that makes that difference? Is it the fact that your organization exists? Right? If you build an organization and no one is there to see it or hear it or participate in it, will it make a difference? No. The folks who make a difference are the heroes for your cause. They are the ones who are volunteering, donating, working at your organization, including you guys right now. You are heroes. Your board members, all of those folks are your heroes, not the organization. Okay, an organization is not something I can connect to, but human beings who do things that I can connect to, and that's a story that I can understand. So I'll get into a little bit more about that. I'm going to grab a sip of water while I'd love for you to drop into the chat, what's your favorite movie and why? As I said, I spent a lot of time in Hollywood, and I'm a big fan of movies in various different ways. I can't recite every line from every movie I've ever seen. There are a few movies I can do that with, but I'd love to know, what are your favorite movies? What's your pick your top favorite movie, and if you could give me in a couple of words or less, why? My Best Friend's Wedding, Citizen Kane. That's a great one. Pulp Fiction. Yes. Okay, great. Princess Bride. Ooh, I don't know if you already saw this presentation, but whoever said Princess Bride is going to like this. Groundhog Day, Rocky. Okay, great. The bucket list. Yes. Princess Bride. Again, Moonstruck, Goodfellas, The Breakfast Club. Great. Yes, because it takes on so many stories and rolls them into one movie. Excellent observation. Wizard of Oz, My Girl. Wonderful. Oh, you guys have some good favorite movies. Field of Dreams. I have some, yeah, playing catch with my dad. A lot of us can relate to that, but I have some issues with that, with the message of that movie. Shawshank Redemption. Excellent. 7. Wonderful. Okay. Greatest Showman. Oh my God, I couldn't get that song out of my head because our kids were singing it nonstop. So let's look at movies, and let's look at how Hollywood puts together a movie, and we'll get into why specifically. But I want to start with the first thing that someone needs to see on your website. When they first land on your homepage, or really on any page on your site, the first thing they see, that is what I'm going to call the poster. Now, why a poster? Because that's the first thing that any of us see when we are first thinking about a movie in one way or another. When I lived in LA, every single billboard had a movie poster on it, right? You go to the movies, you come out of the theater, you see posters for other theaters. What is that? What is a poster? It's these visual things, right? And someone did mention The Princess Bride. A couple of you did. I don't know if any of you love The Usual Suspects. It's one of my favorites, right? But when someone sees your poster, it signals to your audience that they may have found the solution to their problem or answer to their question or not. And in the case of a nonprofit website, it's really the above the fold content. It's also called, for those of us that still remember the tabloid sheets, what do they call them? Yeah, the tabloids, where everything was folded in half and anything above was considered above the fold. So in this case, I took a screenshot, and I'm going to refer to them a few times. I don't know if their website still looks like this, by the way, disclaimer, but it did when I was creating this course. So if you look at it on a phone, it's going to be horizontal like this, vertical like this. If you look at it on a desktop, it might be horizontal, more like a billboard. But either way, it is your poster for the work that you're doing. It sets a tone for the story about to be told. And looking at a poster, you can tell instantly if it's sci-fi, comedy, rom-com, thriller, horror movie, period drama, whatever it might be, right? And here's the thing. You have 7 seconds to convince me that your story is worth any more of my time. That's how long we tend to spend on a website page when we first land on it. We either resonate with it enough to keep going, or we bounce back off. And in that time, I want to know, are you the solution to my problem? Is this a story that I'm interested in? All of that has to be conveyed in a poster. So what makes a great poster? In the interest of time, I'm going to keep going, but I'd love for you guys to drop in the chat, because I'm going to read this whole chat later, what you think makes a great poster. And I'm going to go ahead and share with you my 3 elements that I think are necessary to make a great poster. The first is great visuals, visually captivating pictures. Oh, goodness. Yes, you guys are absolutely right on that. And you're jumping ahead of me. Yes, do I see part of me in it? Wow. You guys should be teaching this course. Wonderful. So let me break down the three purpose points of a poster. The first is to capture attention, right? You need me to notice. The second is to captivate my interest, spark a story in my mind that that I can relate to and see myself in, as someone correctly just said. And then to catapult the journey. It's the opportunity you have to get me to take the first or next step, investing my time to learn more about what you do, and more importantly, how I can benefit from it. I'm going to keep coming back to that point. So 4 parts, I believe, are necessary in a great poster. And I'm going to break them down because you guys are saying them already. The first is the visual, establishing your world. We process images 60,000 times faster than language, and the visual has to engage your potential hero. Am I interested in this story? How do I resonate emotionally? Does it look like it has anything to do with me? Right? And again, just based on these 3 images, you get a lot of what story is about to be told, right? There's a lot of information just in there. The next thing you're going to see is actually the title. Now, a lot of people think, oh, the name of the organization is the first thing. No, now maybe I've already established the name of your organization before I come here, but when I land on your page, the first thing I'm going to see is not the text, it's going to be the overall visual. In this case, there's also a treatment to the fonts, right? It's further informing what kind of story this might be. It's not just a generic title. Each one of these looks a little bit different, so that might affect your logo. It might affect some of the other visuals on your site. The third thing is the tagline. Now, The Princess Bride, it could be a rom-com, it could be a Hallmark movie, it could be a Bollywood production, so could The Usual Suspects for that matter. It could be a whodunit, it could be a medical drama, it could be all kinds of things, right? Just the name alone doesn't say enough. You need that tagline, you need that little additional element, like it's as real as the feelings you feel, or 5 criminals, 1 lineup, no coincidence, right? Or in the case of Pencils of Promise, building schools from the inside out. All of a sudden, now you know, between the title and the tagline, what this adventure might be like, what kind of story you can expect. Of course, your visual is going to really inform that. But I often talk about the movie Alien. And when Alien came out, it could have been so many different types of movies, right? I mean, we've had alien comedies. It could have been about Alf. And the poster was just this black poster with, I believe, some sort of Event Horizon kind of image on it, which was great. But but still didn't necessarily tell me enough. But when I saw the tagline, in space, no one can hear you scream. Oh, yes, absolutely. In space, no one can hear you scream. Instantly, I knew what kind of movie that was going to be, right? So a tagline should augment your title. It should act as a subtitle or put the title in context, and it should tease your story. And ideally, it should evoke an emotion, provoking curiosity or building suspense, right? Hooking me into the story much deeper. Taglines are actually a marketing tool. And there's another tool that we use in the world of movies, which is called a logline. Now, unlike a tagline, a logline actually foreshadows the journey. It's a longer description, one, two sentences at most, usually. If you need to go with three, okay, go with three, but really, please don't go far. In movies, this is what's usually, if you look up a movie on Netflix and you're scrolling through and you're wondering, should I watch this or not? Before you even press play on the preview, if you're going to do that, you'll read the little description, right? That's going to tell you what the journey's about. So and so has to go on a journey to do this and that, right? That's a log line. It's the teaser text, or if you remember the old printed TV guides, or I guess they still do it on the guide on your cable, right? They have that little bit of text, that one or two sentences. That's designed to get you to click through, or in this case, to press play either on the preview or on the movie itself, get you interested to keep going. Okay, so that's the point of the log line. And I go into more detail on that when I have time. And if you guys have more questions, I'm happy to discuss that in the Q&A. But now that we've established the poster, there's one last thing left. And this is something that's missing, I feel like, on too many nonprofit websites in too many places, or it's the wrong thing in too many nonprofit websites on too many places. Your call to action. Every section of your site should have a call to action. Certainly every page should have a call to action. But what should it be? It should be to take a step. Sometimes it might be as simple as to scroll down or jump in, go to a program, or maybe just explore further. There is the option to donate. How many of you think that you guys should have donate as your biggest call to action on the poster of your website? Drop it in for me if you think yes or no. Should donate be a primary call to action on the poster for your homepage? Nope. Yes. No, no. We're getting some differences. A lot of people saying nope. Some people saying yes. Okay, we've got a pretty good divide. Com said, "Oh, I want to scroll back and say, what did Com say?" Com says no. IT says yes. Awesome. I bet development says yes. I get a lot of organizations where top right is where I've learned people know where to look. Yeah, absolutely. I get a lot of organizations where development says, "We need donate. We need donate. We need donate." Absolutely, you do need donate. Should that be a primary call to action? I'm going to go with comms on whoever said that and say no. If you're asking me to donate before I know anything about you, you're basically asking for my hand in marriage before the first date. And again, for the Princess Bride fans, there it is. I don't know you yet. I don't trust you yet. And you're already asking me for money. What does that say to me? What story does that tell? That tells me this is the story of an organization who just wants my money. They don't care about me. They're not here to provide me value. They're not here to help me change the world. They're just here to ask me for money. And that's all they want from me, even if they make some kind of pretty promise around those words, right? Don't do that. If I want to donate, believe me, I'll find that donate button, which someone said should be in the top right of your website. Absolutely, because there it's a signal that says, oh, we're a nonprofit and we rely on donations. We're not here to sell you things. So that's the trust factor. But a big flashing donate button, and believe me, I've seen them large, right as soon as I land says, oh, we just want your money. Otherwise you could go away, right? Please don't do that to me. And in terms of movies, I just looking at my notes here, right? You're rarely going to commit to watching a movie, investing $20, and if you don't get popcorn in my part of town, and 2 hours of your life based on just a poster, right? The goal of the poster is to get you interested enough to watch a preview and find out more. So the call to action on your poster should be about beginning your journey, and really a soft beginning, taking the first step, easy, low cost in terms of time, and especially money, step to take. Okay. So if we've established what our poster is, once we've gotten them through the poster, so they've now scrolled down, clicked to go down, something along those lines, if you've launched them off of your homepage, that's possible as well. In that case, the story has to continue wherever they land. And here's where I want to get into how Hollywood structures their stories. All of those stories, all of those movies that you guys listed, every single one of them is going to follow this structure. Now, sometimes it will be out of order. In the case of Memento, for example, one of the great movies, I think that was Christopher Nolan. It's told in reverse chronological order. Spoiler alert. Sorry, I should have said that. But all of these elements are going to be in it. And that is a 3-act structure. Now, I've spent many years studying and working in theater, TV, and film. And here is what it boils down to. Act 1, beginning. If you guys remember those old movie trailers where a man's deep voice would come on and say, "In a world where one man must rise up to face the injustices put upon him by the evil overlords," right? I'm just obviously generalizing something, but that was the trailer. That's really what you have to establish in Act 1. The first 5 minutes of a movie usually, now they might jump straight into the action, but the first 5 minutes of a movie usually establishes the world that we're in, but shows you something's wrong and shows you a person who has to step up and take an action in order to become the hero of the movie, to basically resist their instincts for stasis, take a chance, right? There's something at stake, even at that first very small action that they're going to take, but they've got to do it, or else the plot never starts, the story never goes anywhere, and frankly, it's going to be boring and we're going to tune out. Once they've accepted that first call to action, it launches them into a series of greater and greater challenges and calls to action. These are part of your Act 2, the journey and conflict of your story. So the hero has to go on the quest, right? Now, in the sense of one of these bigger movies, blockbuster movies like the Marvel films, or like Lord of the Rings, or Harry Potter, or Star Wars, right? The hero is going to have to fight literally for justice, for against evil. So they've got to go on this quest, and each and every time that they succeed, something bigger comes along, or just as they're close to success, something else happens that changes things and makes it harder and harder. They've got to unite friends around them, and finally, if they get that far, and if they don't, that the movie can't succeed, they got to get to Act 3. In Act 3, we have the climax and the end, the final battle for the fate of the universe. And again, the universe might be a relationship in the case of When Harry Met Sally. The fate of the universe might be anything. It's a relative universe. Let's just put it that way. And in your nonprofit's case, you've got your world, right? You want to change the world. That world might be as small as your one city block, or your farming community, or whatever it might be. It might be an online world that's, serving a few thousand people. It really doesn't matter. It's a world. And in this case, in superhero terms, it's the universe, right? So by the end, the heroes, your supporters, have to dig deeper, challenge themselves in ways they never thought they could, because everything is on the line. So if if that's the structure, then we need to understand what is at stake. You're dropping me into the story. You're telling me what it's about. You've established, hopefully, that there's something wrong in the world. But now I need to know what happens if things stay the way they are. And you might elaborate into how might it get worse? What happens if I don't act? So if I've identified enough with the poster and scrolled down and gotten into Act 1, now's your chance to tell me, look, here's what's going on in the world today. 250 million children lack basic reading, writing, and math skills in case of Pencils of Promise, right? Well, if I'm okay with that, I'm going to just scroll right past it or leave. But if I think there's an issue, and I do think that there's a problem with that fact, then now you've hooked me and you've identified something that resonates with me as something wrong in the world. So it could be as simple as a sentence that exacerbates the problem people are already feeling, which you can help them solve. Then you need to identify to me, who are the heroes? And you guys, I think, said this before when you were talking about some of the different movies that you were fans of, that you could identify with the heroes. So who can I identify with? Who is overcoming obstacles to make the world, your world and our world, better? And those might be your beneficiaries. Those might be your volunteers. Those might be your donors. They could be your board members. There's no shortage of different types of heroes. I've got one slide where I identified 24 variations on heroes for your cause that you want to potentially target and activate, right? I want to see either in some very clear way, or at least implied, who is a hero. And ideally, I want to see that I could be a hero as well. So hopefully I can resonate with Luke Skywalker or a Han Solo or maybe Chewie. My kid loves when I make Chewbacca noises. So hopefully I can identify with one of them and say, you know what? If so and so can do it, so can I. And then let's talk real quick. And I already, because I already said this, about what is your role? What's your role in this story? So if someone could tell me, please, who's the young man on the left? And who is the gentleman in the middle? Can someone hop in and make me feel like I'm not the only nerd here? Yep, Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan. Oh, come on. Okay, Jessica, I'm sorry. I don't mean to condescend in these questions, but I do like to know that you guys are with me and enjoying this. So at least knowing that you guys know these characters makes it so much more fun for me. So thank you for that. Wonderful. Yes, absolutely. It's Luke Skywalker and it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. In this case, in your nonprofit's case, your target avatar, your ideal donor, your ideal supporter in any capacity, or your ideal client or beneficiary is your target avatar. In this case, it's Luke Skywalker. And your program or organization, that's Obi-Wan, Ben Kenobi, as he was first called by Luke, right? You are the guide and tools that will transform me, if I'm Luke Skywalker in this case, from an ordinary person with potential into the hero of my story, regardless of what role you want me to play within your organization or I want to play within your organization. With your help, I'm going to become that hero. That's your program's results or benefits. The transformation is the benefits. Your work is just the guide or sometimes the tool. If you're a Marvel fan, you know, your Iron Man suit or his arc reactor or your Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, right? Any of those, that is what you do. You provide that training or that empowerment in some way so that I can become a hero. Chances are I already want to solve the education problems in the world. That's why I might go to Pencils of Promise. It might resonate with me, and I might see the way they're doing it. And if I think that's the right way, I'm going to use them to affect change in the world. But it's me. I'm the person who's going to do it. So where do you come in this story? Well, the guide or the tool, the whatever it is, comes in right at the end of Act 1. Once the problem has been established, that's when the solution needs to be presented. Your mission is to help me on my mission. Help me be a hero and change the world. So if those are the heroes, well, you can't have a movie with heroes unless there are also villains. Now, I'm not going to insult your intelligence again by asking you who that guy is, but of course, that is Lord Vader, Darth Vader, and with him are the stormtroopers. Just like Luke had his circle of friends around him, Leia and Han Solo and Chewie and the droids, so does Lord Vader, Darth Vader. In your case, though, of course, you probably don't have such a tangible, visible, evil persona, but you do have villains that you are trying to combat in the world. Now, in my personal worldview, all evil comes from ignorance and insecurity. But it resonates throughout all kinds of areas. And in some cases, you could even say that time is the enemy because we're running out of it, right? There's a certain time pressure. But think about what is the evil or the villain that you're going to help me overcome. And without you, it's too scary. It's, you know, Luke could have never taken on Vader if he did not first have training from Obi-Wan and then later Yoda. So try as best you can to identify with that, because the more I identify with your villain, the more likely I'm going to act on your behalf. And the more people in general identify that what that villain is terrible for society. There's an expression, it's an Arabic expression that says, me against my brother and I against my cousins and I against the world, right? The bigger the common enemy, the more people it's going to unite. So consider that when you're trying to tell your story on your page, really anywhere that you're telling your story. And the more specific a face you could put on the problem, the more it will inspire others to act. So here again, I want to get back to the call to action. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Do not ask me to go across the Sahara, but ask me if I could take a couple of steps in or a first step in to understand what it's like to be in the desert or to live in the desert, right? I just came up with that metaphor. Apologies if it's not perfect. So now we want, at the end of Act 1, a call to action to start the hero's journey by disrupting the comfort of the hero's ordinary world. This is, I'm pulling directly from Joseph Campbell's hero's journey, or the hero with a thousand faces, and presenting a challenge or quest that must be undertaken. So don't rely on your avatars to go out of their way seeking how to get started or reaching out to you to ask. I've seen this, contact us if you want to help, or just leaving them there without a clear call to action. Make it as easy as possible, but also don't ask for too much. So what do you want me to do at the end of Act 1? Well, what is the simplest thing I can do to start my journey? It might be to learn more about your mission, learn more about your programs, to download something, to show my support in some way, right? Those are all different small steps, not a huge commitment. Again, don't ask me to marry you yet. We're just going to go out for coffee now, okay? The first interaction on that poster was a swipe right. Now we've texted and we're going to go out for coffee. I apologize for the dating analogies, but they are the ones that tend to relate to folks kind of very quickly, that and movies. So that's why those are the two I use. So when it comes to mission, do we have the same mission and values? Can I trust you? Your programs, right? Oh, I think I'm getting a little ahead of myself here. But what you want me to do here is essentially to raise my hand and say, yes, I care about the cause. And yes, I'm willing to take some sort of action. That very first step. So assuming that I've taken up that call to action, and it might just be to stay on the page, that's also in some way not leaving and not saying, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm now going to go deeper, but do have calls to action in every section in case I want to dive off. So then we lead our adventure now goes on to Act 2, the middle of the story. Now, as I said before, in the middle, we have the journey, the conflict and the struggle, right? We have all of the different challenges that people are going to need to face. So in the case of your homepage or hero page, it may have just been that they scrolled down, but they're now going to be on this journey. We can assume that they're with us because they've invested enough time to go this far, okay? So this is now also the section where we deviate a little bit from, or a lot, from the Hollywood story formula into one of my favorite narrative experiences, which goes from this to this. It's your world, but not your adventure. It is my adventure. So you've established the world that we're in and what's wrong with it, but now you're going to give me the opportunity to decide what kind of adventure I want this to be. Do you guys remember the Choose Your Own Adventure? Or I used to love Twist-a-Plots. They were very similar. I don't know, probably Choose Your Own Adventure was the bigger brand, but those were my favorite books as a kid. Why? Because it gave me a sense of agency. It let me decide whether or not we should, the robot should go and fight, or G.I. Joe should go and rescue someone, or if I wanted to do something else entirely. I could flip to a different page and I decide how I want the story to go. I am now empowered. I am now the hero. That is the magic of websites versus traditional narrative storytelling, like most books, and some books, like I said, still do this, or most traditional movies, even though there are now some interactive movies as well, which is also very fun. So again, your avatar wants to take action at this point. But telling them only one way to take action or only giving them one option is not going to necessarily be the best thing, because if I'm not ready to do that, or that's not what I think the solution to the problem is, then I might leave. So I need to feel agency in the quest. And your role, once again, is to guide me along to success, whichever way I want to get there, right? So then what roads can I take? What are my options to make the world better? In the case of Pencils of Promise, they have this section here. These are two of their programs. Now, I have a bone to pick with that, and I actually should check their website. They may have already fixed it, but those aren't very attractive offers for me to dive in further. They do offer their solution, which is great. We should say, here's how we're going to get you there. These are the roads that you could follow. But then I need a little bit more in terms of a description for what these programs are before I can dive in. Don't ask me to take a blind corner. School builds could be anything from technical, and you're going to explain to me how you build a school, right, to actually, case studies of schools that you've built. Similarly, teacher support sounds like a concept rather than a program that I could take part in and become a hero. So here you want to share your programs and whatever offers you have to empower me. And that might be your events, it might be your services, it might just be your authoritative knowledge that's going to give me value and help me transform the world around me even before I donate to you or anything else, right? So this is what I want to see when it comes to the journey. I want to see what journey can I take, because not all journeys are right for everyone. And then I'd like to know, why go with you? Okay, there are likely many different organizations, if not in your same community, then certainly globally and online, that try to alleviate the same evils and issues that you see in the world. Why are you the right organization for me? How are you going to help me to succeed? What obstacles are you going to help me overcome? And borrowing from the Princess Bride again, there's rodents of unusual sizes and fire spurts, right? There are going to be obstacles in my journey. How are you going to help me overcome them so that I'm not as scared to take the journey with you, right? You've already traveled it. Others have traveled down this path. Can you reassure me to say that this is a well-worn path and I'm not going to have to face any dragons alone? I'm now mixing different movie metaphors. Obviously, that's not from Princess Bride. But so here, Pencils of Promise shares their promise, basically, of 100% local sponsorship, local leadership, I should say, 100% direct giving, 100% operational integrity. And it gives me some of those numbers that talk about their progress, that they've already done this before. This is not something new that I'm going to gamble on. Then I'd like to know, how do I know, once again, that we can succeed together? So a little bit more reinforcement if possible. So who has gone before me? Who else supports and endorses your work? Right? So testimonials from some of your clients, testimonials from some of your donors would be really helpful here. Logos, a lot of organizations like to share logos of organizations that they work with, foundations that sponsor them. Those are great because that says that someone else believes in your work and is already supporting you. So I know that I'm not just taking a chance on some new organization or some organization that's completely unproven in one way or another. And if you are a new organization, then you need testimonials from other folks to show me that this is not a dangerous path for me to take. That's all a matter of social proof. And what I love here that Pencils of Promise does do is, besides showing me that Jalpa, Courtney, and Eric have already done this and what they did and how they became heroes, it actually right in the middle there says, I can be one too, start my campaign. They highlight it, it's yellow versus the others. And there's a built-in call to action right within that section, which I think is very clever on their part. So you've taken me through the poster. I followed through to Act 1. I've now gone with you through Act 2, where I have figured out what journey I want to go on with you, assuming that I do want to go on a journey with you. Now, there's something else that you could share with me, which is Act 3, the successful resolution. Now, in Hollywood, of course, and in the formula, that's where the final battle for the fate of the universe is. So what should appear in Act 3 of your HeroPage story? So if I haven't already gone off to one of the calls to action you had in your Act 1 or in your Act 2, what do I need to see here? Well, I want to see that reinforcement. I want to see how I will win. If I take action, how will we succeed? So here again, those numbers are very helpful to show that you already have done this. You have already empowered other people like me to become heroes in our own lives. So I know that if I take the chance and take action with you, I will most likely succeed as well. You might also tell me how close or how much closer we are to achieving the world that we dream of, thanks to the heroes that have come before me. Just be careful, and this is a little caveat, not to sound like you'll succeed with or without me, because there are organizations that have done this. I recently spoke to someone who used to make campaigns for Make-A-Wish Foundation, and they have these beautiful commercials. I don't actually know if they still make them, but I remember in the 80s and in the 90s, there were these beautiful, heartwarming commercials about these children who would make a wish and meet their hero or do something amazing, one day of their lives. They're usually very ill children. And it was great. There was just one thing missing: the need for me to get involved. It just basically said, here's what we do. It didn't say, here's what we need you to do, right? So be careful not to say, hey, we're succeeding with or without you. Say, we're succeeding with help of folks like you. We're succeeding by enabling, empowering heroes like you in one way or another. So once we've shown how we'll succeed, this is a good time to also share your vision. Now, most organizations have a mission statement and they have a vision statement. Well, here's your chance to share that vision. What will the world look like if I take action and together we succeed? So in the case of Pencils of Promise, they say, together we're creating a future where all children have a chance to succeed. I think that could be better. I think that could be more specific because honestly, any organization that deals with children can say that. They could be a little clearer. They could say we're creating a future where all children have access to education and self-empowerment. That would be at least more specific to their cause. But can you sell me on a future? There's actually a psychological phenomena where if you show me what the future might look like, I can't help but put myself there. And as soon as I come back out of it, I want to go back there again. So in the case of, for example, if you ever go test drive a car, right? Go to a car dealership at all, what are they going to do? First thing they're going to do is they're going to try to get you in the car of your dreams. And they're not going to put you in the low end model. They're going to put you in the high end model, right? Why is that? Because they want you to feel what it's like with the end result. They want to show you the after so that you're more motivated before. That's the same thing that your vision statement can do for a potential hero on your hero page. So then you have your chance for your final call to action. Now, if I have ignored your first calls to action in Act 1 or even in your poster to just scroll down, but presumably I did that or I wouldn't have gotten here. But I ignored the Act 1 call to action. I ignored the Act 2 calls to action. I'm now in Act 3. I've gotten this far. You've got one chance left. You've brought me along so far, so I'm probably interested. But if I haven't clicked on anything so far, chances are I'm just not ready to take those steps. If I leave now, who knows if I'll ever come back? So this is your last chance to get me to raise my hand and say I'm interested. And one good thing that you can put here, and a lot of organizations do this, although it could be done better, is to ask me to sign up for my newsletter. But don't just ask me to sign up. Again, here, Pencils of Promise says, become a part of something bigger than yourself. What organization on the planet can't say that? Give me a unique value proposition and a unique call to action here. Tell me what I'm going to get if I sign up for your newsletter. How are you going to help me become a hero in the world? What are you going to share with me? Maybe it's inspiration. Maybe you're going to share resources and tools with me. Maybe you're going to share more events that I might be interested in, right? What is it that I'm going to get in that newsletter that I'm going to say, you know what? My inbox is already overcrowded. I get over 100 emails a day, and I currently have over, I think, 5,500 unread emails in my inboxes, and I've got a lot of inboxes. Why should I give you my email address? It's a value exchange. You have to promise me value in order for me to pay you for it with my email address. So try to be as specific as you can to capture me with a value proposition in this call to action. There's one last part that every movie has, which is the end credits. And I like to think of the footer on your website or the bottommost section as the end credits for your site. And here is where you could put in some additional reinforcements. So who made this movie? Where can I buy the soundtrack or learn more, right? Obviously, I'm speaking metaphorically here, but in the case of Pencils of Promise, right, they identify themselves and their address. They give you a couple more ways to connect with them. What they don't do, and I suggest you do, is reiterate that you're a 501c3 that depends on donations. If you have a Guide Star rating that you're proud of, or anything, any kind of proof, again, reiteration that you're a trustworthy organization, another place to put them there. And then I do love that they have these social media icons at the bottom, because again, if you haven't done anything above and you've gotten all the way here and you're interested in following us along because it's a more passive way to engage with us, okay, great. At this point, I'll say, sure, go to my social media. Now, it used to be that we would put social media right at the top, in the top of the banner, equivalent almost with the donate button. We don't do that anymore because frankly, social media doesn't really work that way anymore. So I recommend putting it lower down. Yes, offer it to people as a way to connect with you, but you can always do that later. You don't get their information if they've just opted into your socials. You only get it if they actually sign up for your newsletter, and you don't control what happens to them when they're on social media. Facebook used to be free in the sense that anytime you'd post something, it would go out to everybody who follows or likes your page. It no longer is. It's a complete pay-to-play platform, and if you're not willing to pay to boost your post, frankly, I think 1% of your audience organically now will see it. So it's almost impossible, right? Your email, your newsletter, you do own those, well, you own the right to contact, I should say, those folks. So the one other thing I would add on there that they don't have is an Amazon Smile button. Add it to that list of icons there, because that is another passive way that I could feel involved and give to you. A lot of folks will say, well, we don't, people might feel like they give on Amazon Prime, on Amazon Smile, and then they don't have to donate to us. Psychologically, that's not true. Psychologically, if I know that I'm giving to an organization, I feel invested in that organization. And that's a whole other presentation that I do. But don't worry about them donating on another platform and you not getting that information, as long as you do try to keep communicating with them on your own. So that is what goes in the end credits. I've pretty much summed up my my Hollywood storytelling formula. I'll conclude with two slides. The first is my own quote, and this feels a little egotistical quoting myself, so I apologize, but I truly believe that when nonprofits tell better stories, especially using the right technology, they find and activate more heroes for their cause and make the world a better place for all of us. I am grateful to each and every one of you on this presentation watching today, whether you're live or on a replay, for the work that you're doing, because I know that it is absolutely critical to our society, to humanity as a whole, that nonprofits exist and do the vital work that they're doing. So I do thank you. And here is my opportunity to give you a little bit more value. If you go to that URL, .orgstrategy.com/QGive, or you scan that QR code that's currently on your screen, for those of you with smartphones handy, which most of us have all the time, you can download my HeroPage report card. So what I did was I took all of those elements that I just talked about and I broke them out into components, and I created a report card out of them that you can basically check off different areas, like, do I see my call to action? Is it here at all? Is it visible, prominent? Is it clear? Is it compelling? I don't remember exactly how I broke it out, the exact words, but it's on a scale basically of 1 to 5. And once you do, you can add it up and you'll see instantly, oh, you know what? We're missing that in this section. That's a great, easy opportunity for us to improve our storytelling right away. So if you go to that link, you'll be able to download that. And I think I included another resource, which is my Hollywood Storytelling Tips for Nonprofits ebook. It's got 46 different tips that you could think about as you're working on telling your story on any platform. And of course, connect with me. I'm happy to connect with anybody. If you've got any questions, you could email me, boris@.orgstrategy.com, or hit me up on LinkedIn. When you have a name like Boris, you do have to own it. So yes, I am the Boris on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect with me there. And I would love to hear from you guys. Anything that I could be of help with, I'm here.
I love it. And I love that you have embraced it and called yourself the Boris. That is the coolest. All right, we've got a couple really great questions, and I'm excited to hear your answers. So one person asked, we have a subpage with our mission and vision. Should it be more prominent on the front page? How do you like to include those mission and vision statements on that hero page?
Excellent question, because it's often either not done at all or overdone. And my suggestion is the logline. I talked about the logline that is part of your poster. Oftentimes, your poster might not fill the entire top of the screen, or the visual is part of it, but the logline will be below. I think that the logline, talking about your journey, is a great opportunity to send people off to your mission. So introduce me to it, and if that's the direction I want to go in, where I want to really understand more about your mission, give me a button right there next to that logline, or something similar about the work that you do, how you make heroes, to go and explore more. You could also do it with your vision statement at the bottom of the page, right? You've got your vision. Again, great opportunity. You're going to sum it up into some, almost ad-worthy, I should say, hook, tagline of some sort about your vision for the world, and then say, learn more, or see what we mean, or whatever the call to action there is.
Okay, that's very helpful. I know those mission and vision statements are really important. And I know as a former board member, it's really important, but sometimes it's hard to know what to do with them once you have them. So this is an interesting one. So a lot of nonprofits offer a service to folks, and they use their webpage to promote those services. And this question is related to that. So someone asked, how can these principles apply to, in this case, a public library? Their website is primarily a way for them to deliver resources and programs, but they also are looking to recruit donors and kind of use their website to do that. How do you strike a balance between emphasizing your services and facilitating the services and inspiring donors with something like this hero page?
Yeah, so the hero page formula is not just for donors, it's for everyone. It's for your prospective clients, which in the case of a library are, I'm guessing, community members that you want to utilize your services, right? So in the case of the hero page system, one of your programs, one of your major calls to action in Act 1 or Act 2 is going to be to go and sign up for the library. It's going to be to explore what the library has to offer, right? Those are the types of things that should be there. You might not have traditional programs, or you might have events. You might have, book readings or some kind of talk around something that's critical to education and literature in general. So I would say that those are the elements that you want to feature there. Um, I want to make sure I'm capturing the entire question. So, uh, taking a step back, I do love that you are delivering your services virtually. I again don't think that this should be that websites should be brochures. They should be instruments of impact. And I have other presentations about impact funnel strategy and how you can deliver value and impact on your website. Anything that your mission does or sets out to do can be achieved, at least in some small way, on your digital media. And so it's absolutely wonderful that you do that. And those are the roads that I can take, the different resources that you offer and ways that I want to become a hero. Those are my journey options for Act 2. I hope I answered that. If not, feel free to contact me directly and I will get into it.
Well, the next question is kind of related. So Brittany asked, how do you recommend segmenting out journey steps for beneficiaries or clients versus your donors?
Yeah, so this is an excellent question. And there's no very simple, 5-word answer, but the way that you improve the world, you do it. So if I am interested in, let's say it's literacy, and just because we're talking about libraries and pencils of promise, and I see that there's a problem in the world, I will go down that path. So if I'm sorry, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. If I'm a potential client, right, and I can take advantage of your online resources or your in-person resources, whatever they are that you offer, you want to show me that path. You want to show me that program. If I am somebody who believes in that program, I will also click through to that. And then there should be a call to action on that program page to sign up. There should also be a call to action on the program page to support this type of work. So once you've guided me through the journey of seeing what the work is, how it works, and I'm resonating with it, and you're showing me examples of people who hopefully have already gone through the program and are now more empowered through literacy, through whatever tool that you're giving them in their life skills, basically, then I will be more likely to support you there. Trust that I'm going to understand that, guide me through the same journey, basically, but show me that I could be a supporter as well.
I love that. That's such a challenge. I know for a lot of people, navigating the challenges of trying to speak to your beneficiaries and your supporters at the same time is complicated, and that's really wonderful guidance.
So I talk a lot, Abby, I'm sorry, I'm going to elaborate on this a little bit more because I talk a lot about avatars, which are your target personas for those that don't use the same nerd terms that I use. And the primary target avatar, I believe, especially for an organization that has client-facing services, should be the client. As a prospective donor, when I come to a website, I want to see what you're doing. I want to see how it works. I don't want you to just be asking me for money, as I said before. So the more I see, oh my goodness, they're impacting folks online, they're impacting folks in person, wherever they're impacting them, and here's how they do it, and look at all these great results that they've seen. And if I know somebody, I might refer them to this organization because I see what they do and it's fantastic. The more likely I am going to support them. I see donations. A lot of people think donations as a tip or as a gift. They're not. And I know that that's part of vocabulary, so I'm not trying to challenge all that and upset the status quo completely, but donation is an IOU. It is not a gift in my vernacular, because I have so many ways of spending my money. I don't need to just give it away to anybody. I want value for my money. And sometimes that value is seeing a change that I can affect in the world and wanting to be a hero. You're giving me something. I am going to pay you back for that.
That's really cool. I've never thought about it that way. So you and I have talked about it before. A couple years ago, now we released a study that looked at how different generations of donors decide to give to the nonprofits they support. And every generation, although they phrased it differently, wanted to know that their gift was going to do something. And I never thought about the fact that targeting your messaging more toward clients is a way to show your donors that they're going to get something or do something with that money. Very interesting. Never thought about it that way. I love that.
There you go. My work here is done.
I've got one more question, and I'm curious. This has been the subject of spirited debate in the QGIve team over the last couple of years because I think norms are changing. How do you feel about scrolling leader images or the carousels on homepages?
Yeah, so we call them sliders. We call them carousels. Carousels are slightly different in again, my geek terminology, but I get what you guys are saying. I am not a fan. And the reason I'm not a fan is because if they are strong enough to give me enough value, then they're going to be up there for at least a few seconds. It's got to be 5 to 10 seconds for me to absorb what's going on there. Now, sure, I'm going to process the visual quickly, but if it's any less than that and something else comes in and something else comes in and something else comes in, then I'm going to get overwhelmed. I'm going to get distracted and disoriented. Rather than capturing me, you're going to confuse me. If they're longer than 5 or 10 seconds, well, then I'm not going to sit there and wait for them to all go by. So I know it's tough because organizations do a lot of things, and I get it. I get why we want to put it all up there and put in this slider that just shows, oh, look, everything is getting attention. Well, if everything is equal, then nothing is worth anything, right? There needs to be something that is uniting, some kind of message that resonates, because honestly, you have one mission. You might have a bunch of programs and ways to execute it, and many organizations do, but you have one mission. And I want to be able to connect and resonate with that in that visual in the first few seconds, and then feel like, yes, this might be the answer to my problem. If I'm Googling something, I talked about this earlier, but I didn't specify. If I'm Googling something, it means I have a question. It means there's some kind of a problem, some open loop in my head. When I reach your page, I want to know this is the answer to my problem. Otherwise, I'm going to hit the back button and go somewhere else.
That's great insight. Another perspective. I never thought about the idea that if everything is equal, nothing is
Yeah.
important.
Yeah.
I've always heard about it from our designers. They make your page take too long to load. It's awkward
Absolutely.
on mobile, blah, blah,
Yep.
blah. But I really like the idea of highlighting the most important thing and putting that front and center, and then everything else kind of very
Yeah.
cool. I learned so much today. Thank you. Those are all the questions that we had, but Boris has been generous enough to give us his email address if we have questions, which I learned so much about websites today. Everyone, thank you for spending time with us. Boris, thank you so much for sharing your expertise. It has been a really fun session. Everyone, do keep your eye out on your inbox. I'm going to send you an email tomorrow morning. It'll contain a link to this recording. I'll make sure you get a link to the page that Boris set up for you with all those resources. And I'll send you some other resources from the QGIve folks. But everyone, have a wonderful day. I will talk to you all very soon. All right, bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Abby. Thank you, QGIve. And thank you all of you who tuned in. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I hope you got some value out of it. And again, just thank you for the work that you're doing out there to make the world a better place.
Yeah, you guys are amazing. So, all right, everyone, have a good day.
Bye.